Hi guys, thanks for joining me again. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Anne and on my channel I review foreign international content. Today I'm back to review Pachinko. We're in season 2, episode 2, chapter 10. I think that's one area I think I got confused. I thought we were in episode 8, but it's chapter. Pachinko is based out of a book, so I believe that's why Apple TV is saying chapter 10. As well, I was gonna say I'm also reviewing, if you love Korean dramas, I'm also reviewing Love Next Door and Romance in the House. Those are so good. Those are on Netflix and we're getting 2 episodes every week. Anyway, let's get to episode 2, and we saw from episode 1, thanks to Hansu, Sunja was released from prison for, trying to sell that rice wine in the black market because they were starving, right? And then obviously, I think the kids are home with the aunt and kind of still waiting to see, where's mom, that kind of thing. And then while they are home, Noah is like, who is trying to open the door, right? That was interesting. And he's like all worried. And you can also tell the climate in the area there's that looming gloom because now they're getting more and more warnings that the Americans are going to bomb Japan. So it's just eerie. You can tell the streets are more empty. People are more kind of staying to themselves in the homes. And so he sees the door knob moving and he's like, what is going on? And then the door busts open and it's his dad. It's Isak. Finally, he gets to come home, but oh my God, the way he looked was like life was awful for you. He's got the worst, clearly that's not a cold. It's like pneumonia, I don't know, tuberculosis. Just say whatever he's got in his lungs is just bad. He looks skinny, dirty, and just has had the worst life ever. And then obviously Sunja come home and it's like, oh wow, he's back home. And the aunt or the sister-in-law says, you probably need to spend more time with him because the way he's looking, I don't think he's got a lot of time. I don't think he's gonna make it for a long time because he is very ill. And she's like, no, we're gonna get him a doctor. And the sister-in-law is like, why are you gonna find a doctor right now? They've all been sent to go to war. Nobody's got a doctor around here. There's no way we can heal him. He's gonna definitely not make it. And then obviously she runs right back to Hansu and says to him, if you've been keeping an eye on us, that means you've been keeping an eye on him, which is interesting because she was like, if you have, then why didn't you release him sooner? Because we find out it was him who allowed the releasing of the husband, because Sunja said, I'm not gonna go out there in the countryside, because remember Hansu was like, you guys need to move to the countryside because Japan is about to be bombed by America. And she's like, I'm not leaving without my husband. So I bet Hansu was like, well, let's release the husband so she can agree to move to safety, right? So that's why he was released. And obviously, when she said to him, so you've been watching him, meaning you could have released him sooner, I'm like, He always obviously wanted to keep her open in the fact that he always loved her. And if he can find a way, he was gonna try to keep that, open. Anyway, when she goes to him and says, I need you to find me a doctor because I know if you have those resources, definitely you know a doctor who's still here. And he does. And the doctor comes and sees Isak and he was like, whoa, he's just full of pus. Like the lungs are just full of pus. And there's no way, we'd have to take him to a hospital to try and drain that. And even then, we can't because that infection now has spread all over his body. He's got sepsis. It'll be impossible. And then she proceeds to tell him, to be honest, he probably just have hours. Forget about a day. He's got just hours. And that scene where she's just laying with him and talking to him about what a good husband he was and what a good person he was, as he's kind of like grasping for air, in his, taking his last breath. Oh, so touching, yes, yet so sad. But what was really like a mind blower, it was crazy that we find out who is the one who turned him in. It was that pastor. That pastor, that Korean pastor in the church, is the one who did. And when he explained the reason why, it's like, oh my gosh, I never had a family like you. You grew up in a nice family. People loved you who they were. And I get adopted by this other pastor. And he's the first time I'm enjoying what it feels like to be loved. And then you show up, and then now my pastor loves you almost more than me. He got jealous, and that's why he turned him in. I was like, wow, just heartbreaking and crazy. And the fact that he's asking for forgiveness there at the end, and the fact that Isak wanted Noah to be in the room to hear the truth of what happened, because Isak figured out who turned him in, I think, when he was still in jail, and was like, when they were asking for the pastor, they thought they wanted the pastor to come and pray for him because he was sick, and hopefully, Noah was thinking, pray for him, please beg God to heal him, right? And it was like, yeah, that's what they thought, but didn't realize, no, it was the pastor that caused this whole situation, which was very sad to hear. And then just how touching Isak was with his sons, and just like, he was like, I'm dying to live. I would love to live and see my sons grow up. I would love to live and, be with you, my wife, to hold you. Oh, so touching, so very touching. So anyway, in episode 2, spoiler alert, at this point, if you're watching, there's no way of reviewing this without giving some spoilers. So hopefully you already watched it and you're just here for the review. Here's to hoping. So obviously we do see that Isak obviously does not make it. But at least they got to have their final goodbyes and all that stuff. And then it was just crazy. They're in the middle of cremation. And then now the sirens are going, and it's like, no, oh, this is the real deal. We gotta take cover. And they don't even get to finish the ceremony, if you will. And that was just crazy. So, and then we come to 1980s, 85, I believe it is. And we see, obviously, the story of Solomon, their grandson, who obviously is still trying to make it, because now everybody has blacklisted him and they don't want to do business with him, because that one Korean lady would not sell him that land that this huge big company wanted. And then obviously he goes to see that lady again, and just to let her know, like, because of you, because I convinced you not to take the deal, obviously it has costed me a lot. And then she's almost looking at him, and what am I supposed to do about that, right? Like, how is that my problem? But as they're talking, it's interesting, because there's a comment he made that I thought interesting, that he's feeling that pressure in the fact that his grandma and then this lady, they suffered so many things, that for her, she could be looking at Solomon and being like, and what are you complaining about? Almost like your problems are not that big a deal compared to what we've been through. And then he's saying, I know you're looking at me like I'm very pathetic. And then you're also thinking, if we struggled this hard, this is what we get, meaning Solomon is who their product is. It's almost like they should be ashamed of him, because he made nothing out of himself. And I think he's looking through his life in the fact that, he was educated, he was taken to the best schools. I mean, he came to United States and Yale and got educated, and then now he's got nothing to show for it. And he's having one of those moments of like, I know, you guys look at me like I'm pathetic based on what you guys went through, right? And it was interesting that he said that, and then she's looking at him like, I had my reasons for not selling this land. And then as they're talking, they're finding out that when she was buying the land after the war, it was practically being thrown away, like a throwaway price. And she goes, that's why I could afford it. And then he's asking her about why was that? And then when she said, well, my understanding, this used to be an area where they would bury people who died after the, during the war. So technically speaking, it's almost like a grave site. So that's probably why that land was being sold at a throwaway price. And as she said that, Solomon's mind is like, oh, I think we may have a reason to make sure that they don't force you to sell the land and force you out. Because remember, the way they decided to do it was they were gonna, I guess, use somebody else, I guess, I don't know if it was Korean or whatever, to come buy the land, but then eventually that person is gonna end up selling it to the company that she did not want the land to end up with, right? So it's like either way, they're gonna buy the land. They're gonna force you out eventually. But Solomon is like, oh, them finding out that maybe this land actually, if anything, in my mind, I'm thinking that should be probably be preserved, right? If you have people who died during the war buried there, maybe your heroes, or the people that died for the war, that may be a place where you want to honor because the dead are there. And she even said, I really had to work hard to forget that my house is built on top of probably bones and people under here, which is something she said I fought for many years to forget them because I felt like having my house here was dishonoring, right? So anyway, that was just episode 2, chapter 10. Just fantastic. I can't wait to see what's coming up. I'm interested to see now, once they move to the countryside, as you can see, Hansu has joined them. Now the husband is gone. What becomes of the relationship between Sunja and Hansu? And then for Solomon, I want to see now if he's able to take, the big companies, and hopefully he can be successful as well. Anyway, did you watch episode 2? What did you think? Let me know in the comment section. As usual, thank you for joining me. If you do like my video, give me a like, subscribe. It does help to support my channel. And I'll see you next week when I review episode 3. Deuces.